Welcome back for another video. We're welcoming another 10 experts to the series this week. Big thank you to all the managers for their ongoing participation. We're still getting over 100 responses every week. If you're new around here, every week I send questions out to top managers and collate the answers into videos, which results in very valuable data for your teams. With our new experts added, between them all they've got 5 finishes in the top 100 in the world, 55 top 1Ks and 344 top 10K finishes. To benefit from this data yourself, make sure you're subscribed. We have a new name top of the Experts League. Hapo scored 80 points last game week, which has moved him up to 7.8k overall. The highest expert score was Nemanja, who wildcarded last week and he scored 112, including a shrewd and Ketia pick for his hat-trick, and he had Haaland captain. Were you able to beat the experts' average score of 71? This week, 60% of them are rolled in the transfer, a stark contrast to last week where very few rolled and lots of hits were taken. Given Newcastle have got Arsenal and Spurs have got Chelsea, there is less upside moves this week. There's a lot less upside moves to be making this week, and you're unlikely to bring in any players from those 4 teams. 39% have spent 1 transfer, and 1 manager's making 2 transfers. Let's dig into which players that are joining and leaving their teams. By far top this game week is Tsimikas, joining 20% of the Experts teams. He joined the Experts team last game week and he's cemented his place now with another 20% picking him up. Liverpool are away to Luton this game week and he's only 4.6 mil, so he works great this week if you've got some of the top transferred out defenders that you need to get rid of. Botman, Udogie, Burn, Gabriel, Trippier, Schär and Estupiñán all being sold by some experts. Looking at Newcastle's next 6 games, you could quite reasonably ask how many clean sheets are actually in there. Arsenal, Bournemouth, Chelsea, Man United, Everton and then Spurs, which is perhaps why we're seeing lots of Newcastle defenders drop this week. Guehi's the second top transfer in. Palace do have a nice block of 5 fixtures ahead with Burnley, Everton, Luton, West Ham and then Bournemouth. Testament to why so many are rolling though. Over such a wide data set, very few are actually making attacking transfers. 3% again Diaby, 2% Hwang and 2% Salah. Neto's the most sold player by 8% this week and he's not going to be back until after the international break in a few game weeks. Botman's still sidelined for Newcastle and Arteta says Jesus is out for a few weeks. Luis Diaz is back in training for Liverpool. Palmer versus Adingra is an interesting one, being picked up by 1 manager each. Adingra's got the fixtures, but Palmer's on penalties and he's putting up the better underlying numbers at the moment. Palmer impressed again last match. Although no returns, he racked up exactly 1.0 expected goal involvement, so perhaps he edges it now. The other question is whether we can actually trust Adingra to start every game. Even with March out, you never know for De Zerbi. He's certainly more nailed with March out, but that could also be a factor. Besides a few upside moves this week, another reason it could be worth rolling, if you only have 1 transfer, is the fixture swings in Gameweek 12. We've got Arsenal home to Burnley, Brighton home to Sheffield United, Estupiñán back in training by the way, and West Ham home to Forest, and they have a good run of games themselves. No chips active among the experts this week, but let's quickly run through their chip usage and we'll talk about chips in the future. 87% have used their wildcard now, so only 13% still have it. Gameweek 20 is the last week to use it or you lose it, after which point we get a second wildcard. Although it's a while away, transfers we make now may impact how we look in Gameweek 18 and 20, which are important game weeks, and may also affect our chip strategy. Gameweek 18 is a confirmed blank for Man City and Brentford, so if you've got Haaland, Alvarez and Mbeumo, you'll be 3 players down that week, so that's your entire bench. So how will your bench look then? If you've got Archer as a third forward, he's got Villa away, which isn't great, and Arsenal and Liverpool play one another in Gameweek 18 as well. So Gameweek 18 is actually looking like a free hit opportunity, and although it's not confirmed yet, there's an expectation for those 2 blanks to move into Gameweek 20 as a double game week for Brentford and Man City. So one sound strategy is to free hit your Brentford and Man City players out in Gameweek 18. They come back into your team in Gameweek 19 when they've got great fixtures, and then there's the predicted double in 20 to follow. We'll get an announcement well before then regarding the double in 20, so we'll know for sure before we get there, but it's something to bear in mind now. Another strategy is to dead end your team into Gameweek 18 if you've still got your wildcard. In other words, you sell your Brentford and Man City players in 18 and then wildcard them straight back into your team in Gameweek 19 before the double. If you've wildcarded already like most of us and you want to save your free hit, then it is going to take some shrewd team management to navigate those weeks. There will be other free hit opportunities later in the season as well. It's something we'll cover more in depth nearer the time, so make sure you're subscribed. Going back to the original point though, transfers made now will impact Gameweek 18. For example, if you're bringing in Baldock, or you've got Archer, Tsimikas and an Arsenal defender, those are the types of players that are going to be far from ideal to be playing in Gameweek 18. Of course, if you only own Haaland now, then it's only 1 player affected by the blank, but you're going to want 2 transfers in Gameweek 19, ideally to load up for the double. Moving on to captaincy, and here's what the experts are doing this week. 90% are captaining Haaland, 10% captaining Salah. 10% of the experts decided to go no Haaland a few weeks back, which so far has been an overall gain, and those are the ones that are captaining Salah this week. It might be a week where it all evens out if Haaland hauls. If you made the call to go no Haaland, it's not worth ripping your team up with hits now, unless there are some obvious moves involving injured players. We've not had any new information in that respect. Haaland always stood a chance of hauling against Man United, we knew that before, so in that respect nothing has changed since making that decision. FPL review projections doesn't have a significant amount between them, Haaland with 8.3 points, Salah 7.7. If you're a non-Haaland owner, then it's crucial that Salah and Alvarez deliver this week. Moving on to the experts team for Gameweek 11, which is built from the highest owned players and all their teams within budget. The team for Gameweek 11 has Areola in goal, in defence it's Tsimikas, Cash and Gabriel. In midfield, Salah, Son, Bowen, Saka and Gordon, and up top Haaland and Watkins. The bench is Turner, Burn, Archer and Taylor. If you find yourself with Gabriel, Burn and maybe even Taylor, then it's a headache which to start this week. The clean sheet odds very marginally favour Burnley with 31.5% chance, Arsenal with a 27% chance and Newcastle 25%. However, we've just learned that Eze's back in the squad for Palace, which is a huge boost to their attack, so go with your gut on this one. Newcastle actually have 2 clean sheets in their last 3 meetings with Arsenal, and they are a force at home, so Burn's perfectly fine as well. Gabriel's got the most goal threat of the 3. You could have any of the 3 in the starting 11 here. Salah is the most owned player among the experts with 92% ownership, Cash and Haaland 90% owned. The ownership percentages are very useful for spotting players that the wider player base is overlooking that the experts really like. For example, Tsimikas was 61% owned last week, but just 8% by all players, a huge discrepancy. Taylor's their favourite enabler in defence with 46% ownership and just 5% overall. Every week we ask the experts to send in any tips and insight they have to share, and here's what they had to say for Gameweek 11. Fellow player says, I don't have Haaland but I'm sticking to the plan. He still has tough fixtures after Bournemouth. Salah is capable of hauling against Luton. Alex says Mitoma's an easy transfer in this week because of his upcoming fixtures and the lack of League Cup action. Turtu says Salah versus Haaland captaincy is a key question again, and way more difficult than last week, despite what the community seems to think. I'd say it's another coin toss really. These guys are just so good, it's almost impossible to guess the maximum hauls right every single time. Aman Talks FPL says, this week feels like a good opportunity to roll the transfer to prepare for the Gameweek 12 swings, if you didn't already jump on Saka or if Nketiah is an option. Most moves seem to be in defence for the likes of Tsimikas or Guehi, who are both good cheap options with favourable upcoming fixtures. Cullum says, I've got some good luck and I'm now top 50k. I haven't owned Son or Watkins so far this season and I've taken 20 points of hits. I'm rolling the free transfer. Gameweek 12 is time to start some serious planning to dead end into Gameweek 19 wildcard. Disaster FPL says, with teams looking good for the next few game weeks, a goalkeeper transfer might be an option next week if Areola doesn't perform. Atomic FPL says, how big a sofa do I need as a Haaland non-owner? Carl Smith says, come on Alvarez, save me from this misery. Thanks for watching. Before you go, if this was helpful, you can show support by liking the video and subscribing. We'll be live for the deadline on Saturday. See you then.